I'm going to make this live stream very brief. When I say brief, I mean brief. It's 4:24 in the morning. As the title states, I've gone through hours and hours of conversations I've had with people recorded to my laptop. And that patience, whilst it feels like my life has gone down the drain, no, it's all for the greater good. And also it gives me a chance to reevaluate, not reevaluate, but check that I'm not being gaslit, basically. So yeah, but all thanks and praise to the Almighty Abba Father, Adonai, El Shaddai, Yahweh Elohim. So yeah, because when I did the St. Wilfrid's, the last time I did that St. Wilfrid's memorial walk with Darren for my mother down at Holywell, it's quite beautiful. I mean, it's a very creepy place. I've slept rough down there before. It's quite dangerous as well, but we'd have like a little grotto with lights, memorial lights. It's very emotional because it's, you're walking in the dark with your lantern. It's a charity walk. Unfortunately, the Freemasons support St. Wilfrid's Hospice. And all I can say is thank goodness my mother is not in there now, because they have those pagan drummers with the pentagram. And throughout the centuries, they've used the drum beat. You've got to be very careful when you're listening to drum beats or when you're around drum beats, because they have been used for satanic sacrifice of babies. So yeah, and Darren and I were very, very on the ball. I commented on Mark Devlin's thing on Facebook because I mentioned The Wicker Man. My mother and father actually watched The Wicker Man back in the 1970s, and it's based on reality. Ingrid Pitt paid me a huge compliment at the Birmingham NEC, without wanting to sound like a massive big head here. But it's like I'm going off on a real tangent here, but why not? It's all interlinked. Nothing new is under the sun. I did Darren's friend. It's such a small world. It really is. Darren's friend was on the TV because he did the he was on the TV about 6 years ago when he went to he did the Long Man of Wilmington, where witches and pagan people do their thing. And he was with Darren's friend as part of a Morris dancing group, because every place in the country has got witches' covens. And by the way, I do respect Mark Devlin, just because I'm not going to agree on everything. But I had to, he was like, oh, equinoxes and solstices are used by the elite for satanic rituals, but they're okay when you use it in a good way. Scripture is very clear that you should never get involved in any of this stuff, no matter what. Do not engage in anything. That's why this lady, this MK Ultra victim who's got a bloodline here in the UK, who I've commented on her videos, but she got funny with me, and she wasn't going to help me unless I had a session with her, and I wouldn't do that because I'm not into, shamanism is dangerous, just like yoga. My Iranian lady friend has got such healing hands, and she's done Reiki on me, but I really need to be a bit more outspoken, but because of my confidence and my anxiety, I won't just say, look, can you not do that? Because Reiki is dangerous, We're not supposed to do these things. But anyway, so getting back to where I was, before I went off on a tangent, the St. Wilfrid's Memorial Walk, I'd always wanted to have a go at Morris dancing, and I had a go 6 or 7 years ago, and Darren was trying to subtly tell me, he respected my decision, but I then realised what I was doing was not right, because it's pagan and it's worshipping Mother Earth and all that stuff. All the things that look so fun, and Disney World and Peter Pan programming and Brownie Guide Honor and the Masonic ritual and a stuffed taxidermy owl and look in the mirror and saw myself, disassociation, woohoo. It's all fun when you're a child, and ignorance is bliss is what that silly little girl police officer who assaulted me and tried to get me in prison and slandered me in the Herald over a welfare check on Beachy Head after dragging me out to the Beachy Head pub. Yeah, ignorance is bliss. Okay, you carry on with it. But let me tell you something. The last time I went on that St. Wilfrid's Memorial Walk, I was with Darren, and I put my head, I got down on my hands and knees, and I put my head on the concrete, praying to Abba Yahweh. Because Darren has taken me to his name. It's Darren who made me realise if it wasn't for Darren, I'd be probably a screaming, raving maniac because of all these demonic things. And if Tanya's watching this, because my eldest sister knows about these live streams, she thought that I had, because of the paranormal things in our house and the generational curses, she thought that I had, psychic powers. And my mother said when she was giving birth to me that I was wide awake. And and the witchcraft, all this magical stuff, which, guess what? There's another thing I missed out on the list of dissociative identity disorder. Children who are extremely imaginative and religious practice. Well, that's me to a T. And anyone who was friends with me as a child will know how imaginative I was and am. So I've given all that stuff up, and Darren made me give up. Adamant is an MK Ultra victim. His dad was in the military, paedophile, sex ring. He's a Freemason. He made it very clear that he had sold his... You see the video for Friend or Foe, and Don Murfitt, who was at one of the conventions, because people knew me at the Adamant conventions. Oh, it's Bryony, And I'm not trying to sound big-headed here or anything, but Don Murfitt, the manager for Adam and the Ants, he had managed other bands as well. His son and daughter were in the Friend or Foe video. I actually danced with Don Murfitt's daughter at the Adamant convention, because she would be about the same age as my eldest sister, because she was about 10 or 11 in that video. But Don Murfitt's son is the devil doing a deal with Adamant, and he's doing a deal with the devil. So it's all subliminal. And the guy in the audience, I'm noticing things I didn't notice before. I mean, Adam was always doing the symbol, the 666, and I've seen him do that one. And but like, there's a guy in the audience who twice takes out a KP crisp, and he's doing the hand gesture, but ever so slightly. Where is Bryony going with this? This is the point I'm about to make. What is the point I'm about to make? Yeah. So we are living in a time where the Antichrist, and here's another tangent. Oh my gosh, she's going to go off on another tangent. It just so happens that my mum did a scene with Sam Neill in Wimbledon, and he played the Antichrist, didn't he, in The Omen? I don't know why. I just find it almost, it's almost darkly amusing, as Mark Devlin's surname is an anagram of Devil N. But yeah, tongue-in-cheek. I can be very tongue-in-cheek. So where is she going with all of this? So basically the point I'm making is I gave up all that stuff when Darren walked in the door. He literally walked into all of my problems, and I got rid of the green man thing. I've said about that, and John Wedger explaining what the green man is. But we try to emulate our, Darren said to me, you're just chasing air, because Adamant really became more of an idol, and I ramped it up, and I ended up looking like a Babylonian whore, and I was liking the attention, and people were taking pictures of me, and I liked it. I wore demonica boots. I wore the skull and crossbone earring, which is, it's all there. The skull and crossbone. And of course I wore a replica of his an exact replica mold of his Adam's skull and crossbone buckle. And guess what? That buckle is worn by the Nazis. Exact same style of skull and crossbone, the exact same one is worn on the hats of the Nazis. So that, and the skull and crossbone club, and the Maltese cross that the punks wore, as well as the swastikas, because the swastika is occultic, and Adolf Hitler used to do occult practices with the Nazis wearing the swastika. So you've got to be so careful. But I'll tell you this. Excuse me. Me praying with my head to the ground to Yahweh throughout all this madness, my clutter, my hoarding, everything, putting my head on the ground and praying so hard when I was self-funding the hotel for 9 months. That first hotel room that I was in the Cavendish, I had my head on the ground, my head touching the ground, praying. And that would have been around the time that my father died. And over a year later, I find out he's dead. And he said to me, I might not be here for much longer. And I had this, because I communicated with him on Facebook. So I've missed all these painful opportunities, and I just thought I'd make a live stream just to basically say that, pardon me, excuse me, I've got wind because of stress, that basically that praying hard has really probably sustained me a lot more than I realised, because I'm getting all the attacks now, and Satan still has not revealed himself, the Antichrist. But the wrath of Yahweh is coming very soon, and it will be poured out on all those who have not given themselves to him. So anyway, so I really should have retitled this live stream, because I don't tend to stay on topic, but it's all relevant. So I've gone through all these recordings. I still haven't complained to the GMC, because but my legal ombudsman complaint, this right. So I've done my rant about how things are spiritually and where we're going, because we know where we're going. We're in the end times. So getting back on topic, I find it fascinating. My journey is fascinating. But people in these last days, pray for all those people who are still worshipping adamant, because that is idolatry. That is worshipping a gods. And I have Darren to thank for getting me out of that, because adamant was my world. All the posters, got to wear what he's wearing, do what he's doing, anything he said. My ex-Jehovah's Witness friend tried to play me a recording of Adam trying to mock people in a church, and I didn't want to hear it, because you can't say anything bad about adamant. That's what it was like. Even though it upset me, even when Kenny, and I know he's subscribed to me, Scottish Kenny, because I befriended him for a short time, he was trying to say to me, he's spitting on the audience, and he said, I'll tell you, if that spit gets on me, as much as I love Adam, I swear I will knock him out. And even then I was like, oh, that's disgusting. Spitting is disgusting. But I don't want to hear it, because you can't say anything bad about adamant. That, it was well and truly idol worship. So anyway, I mean, me idolizing my mother could be seen as idol worship. If you are engaging in what scripture warns you against, pay attention. Pay attention. Because I was idolizing my mother. I mean, yeah, she was the best mother in the world, and most of us will say that about our mothers, unless they have obviously really badly abused us. But my mother and I was very much like that, and mummy this and mummy that. This note was very handy though, because this note was in a big bag of love notes to my mother, because I would tell my mother everything. So this note to my mother is important, because this note documents one of my struggles from over 20 years ago. I would have been in my teens or early 20s, and this is needed for the GMC, the General Medical Council, because it shows, it's proof that I was being messed around back then with the mental health services. So trust me, I'm here for a reason. I haven't killed myself. This world needs me. I don't need it. So keep criticizing me, keep putting me down, keep doing that. See where it gets you, because it's going to get you in a dark, very dark place. I had a Freemason shove his tongue in my mouth and say, if there's anything you want, come to me. Nah, not for all the tea in China, not for all the anything in the world, nothing. I will die a brutally honest person, and I will be judged by the mighty, the one and only judge of all judges. So yeah, so this note, you know, saying that there's been a delay because of Dr. Rogers in New Haven, which was a doctor my mother had back in the 80s. They mixed something up with physiotherapy. And if I contact his secretary, there's a query over the hospital, say I went there for physiotherapy, but I didn't though, did I? And I was like, and also, and I'm saying to my mother, you know, I've even mentioned Dr. Price, the child psychologist I saw, and the messing round that I'd had. Oh, and I need to show you a job vacancy. So I was trying very, very hard, and now I'm on severe disability premium. What does that tell you? What does that tell you in itself? What does this tell you when I've been bullied so badly when I did care work? That's Brave Briny Battles on 20 years ago. I'm flashing it again. Yeah, the blonde hair and the adamant t-shirt, and across the road, Adamant's friend, famous punk friend, whom my transgender sister got her to get Adam to write to me, and she was on the list of Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. So thanks to Mark Devlin for that, because I wouldn't have known that she would have died otherwise. I mean, I even saw Jordan Pamela when I went to Seaford about 7 or 8 years ago. I was in Seaford and I bumped into her, and I said how I wasn't in touch with my transgender sister, either of my sisters, even though she had asked Pamela for help with her college work because she wants to be an actress or something, and along that lines anyway. But and she said to me, you know, maybe you can draw a bridge. What did she say to me? She was very nice about me to my sister 20 years ago. Can't remember what she said to me, but she said maybe, yeah, you can build bridges. So it gave me comfort seeing Jordan after my mother died, because I've got that attachment, you see. But the idolatry as well. You need to cut the ties and rebuild the relationship with the one who's kept me going. So I can, however hurt I feel, I'll always, obviously, I'm thankful to Darren for, you know, this is where it's all very messy. So, because I've got like all these recordings from all these people one of the recordings, and it's very interesting how the name of the female officer sounds like a male name, and the name of the female officer, the name of the female officer sounds male, and the male officer's name sounds female, because the male officer, his name is Miranda. He's a foreign police officer. It's very strange, but it's just one of those. Well, I suppose it's like Hillary. We had a female Hillary, and there's a Dr. Hillary Jones on TV who's a male in the club of, Britney Spears. But update on DA female officer PC Allen to investigate and supervise review. Sergeant investigating with view to arrest suspect, i.e. my partner, Miranda Della Fonte, a male officer, with his colleague who took me down from Beachy Head to give statement over domestic abuse. And that was on the 24th of August 2022. And yet, and then I was put through 24 hours of bullying and torture in A&E with the crisis team. Well, Miranda Della Fonte, his other foreign male colleague, was with PC McCarthy, who really badly assaulted me on Beachy Head 2-3 weeks ago after I got the news about my father. And that was the worst brutality to date. So, yeah. And then I've got that recording of DC Kamar saying we got Darren in custody. That DC Kamar of Eastbourne CID. And then the subsequent failings there. All these recordings. So Karen Sharp of the Legal Ombudsman, there's that one. Karen Sharp of the Legal Ombudsman was trying to get the law firm whose bent solicitor represented me when she was confused over how a welfare check on Beachy Head could end up with me being convicted of me beating the police, stripping me naked, slandering me and all of that. How can that happen? Well, the Legal Ombudsman gave me you couldn't make this stuff up, a vulnerable customer champion. And even Darren said at the time, well, if they're what they say they are, let's see what they'll do for you. A vulnerable customer champion. So some young person steps in to do a report for you. And where's that gone? So that was a year ago. The number of times I could have sued the police. But the Legal Ombudsman, they don't deal with anything other than just complaining about a lawyer, a solicitor, or the entire law firm. But no, the same director, shall we say, of that law firm, I'll put it in the description, the same director, whatever he was, I won't say his name, I'll just say his name is Daniel, and he didn't believe that it was, I didn't need any compensation. I've never sued the council, the police, or this law firm, but I tell you what, I paid £90 for half an hour a few years ago for them to tell me they couldn't help me. This is what I mean. This is why Ray Savage from the this ex-Sussex police speaker at the conference I went to in Battle, who just happens to have dated the mother of children I played with. He said, none of it's fit for purpose. But it's more than that. It's totally and utterly corrupt through and through. And I mean through and through. These really are the last days. But what really annoys me is people aren't listening to me, even though they know I'm intelligent. They're not bloody listening. So, I'm trying. It's hard for me not to swear. But all these recordings, I mean, one of the GPs that I want to report to the GMC said I've got to have a realistic expectation. This was while I was in Eben's flat for my safety, after all the money had run out and I'd finished self-funding hotels for 9 months and I had no money left. He said that he was definitely, because I've got the recording, he's angry to the core. And this is a doctor who told me I was going off on a tangent hours before I was attacked in the early hours, and blood was left on my door and all of that. Yeah. So, and he said that he would do a referral to community connectors, you know, one of these many agencies that have failed me. And I'd already had a referral to community connectors previously by someone else and never heard back. This is what I'm saying. So even when I wasn't living in Eastbourne, even when I was living in Seaford, what's going on? And then I moved to Eastbourne under adult social care. You're just like one of their playthings, their little things. So this gift that I made for Steve Churchill at the food bank, he said I was, you know, playing Darren when I played him that recording, saying, you know, with that criminal threatening to beat me up, and then 3 hours later I'm arrested and he's telling Darren I'm playing him. But, you know, every time Juliet has affirmed me, they're using Juliet to play me. So I'm the one who's being played, and I've had the same narcissistic abuse with my sisters as explained in my live stream last night. So, but this GP, one of the doctors that I'm reporting to the court for me, he's made a referral for me. But, you know, I've already been failed by councillors and the MP. And he said, you know, he's telling me I need to have a realistic expectation of what a doctor can do for me. But this is someone who told me I was going off on a tangent. Oh, he's got other patients to deal with. He's not. And I said to him in that recording, you don't sound like my GP from Seaford, whose name again I won't mention, from the old school surgery in Seaford, who 25 years ago said, why is no one helping Bryony? He sat with me and my mother 25 years ago. I'm sending her to all these places. And yes, because even as a schoolgirl suffering from depression and suicidal feelings that were just bubbling beneath the surface. Because even when I was 13, I'd scribbled on my posters, I hate life. And that was before I started suffering from depression. That was before I saw Dr. Price when I was 14. And my mum and I walked out of the healthcare centre saying, why is he talking about his own issues? I'm here to talk about my own. So it's taken an early midlife crisis to get to where I am now. So, yeah. So, Yeah, there are little things I need to mention that because there's just too much. There's really just too much to mention. There's hours and hours of and emails of being messed around, and I can't. This would, as Darren said, it would test someone who's got capacity, but it's only through prayer and persistence that these evil people, that even when I was self-funding the Strand Hotel in December 2018, this is after I'd been reported missing in the Herald and gone AWOL from Sussex Partnership, and they had actually contacted these Sussex police. Sussex police is one of the most corrupt police forces, and yet they had contacted my late father. So what's going on here? And I still don't know how my father died. I haven't had any comfort, nobody to put their arm around me, nothing. And I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't take drugs. But the powers that be know this, because I've told them time and time again. And this little snippet of information is very important, because there was someone at the crisis team a few years ago who's really had to, because I watch and I learn, she's had to be very careful now, because I can see what's going on. One time I was talking to her and she was pretending to listen like this. And she wrote, as I was speaking to her, she wrote down something down, and I was just telling her everything that had been happening to me. And then I looked down at the piece of paper and I said, "Why have you written down that I'm aggressive?" "Well, I'm sorry, Bryony, but this is how you come across." One word. That's all she wrote down. And they're all in on it, and they know that I know, and that's why they don't like me, and that's why they say to people, "Don't talk to that woman, don't talk to Bryony," because I've got my beady eye. Even before I moved in here, I could smell the stench of BS from miles away. I can smell it through a laptop. I know when something's not right, even like. The difference is I give people a chance. So I've spent my whole life being extremely brutally honest. At the Adamant gigs, there was a man who came up to me and said, "You can't be dressed like that and be as you are, all nice and sweet and honest." As one of the women said to the other guys, she said, "I didn't." Apparently, I mean, this is what other people used to, say these things, and they said, "I didn't think Bryony would be a nice person because of how she's dressed." And I told another woman this, and they said, "What a terrible thing to say." I said, "No, she's right. I was dressed like a Babylonian whore. I looked like a bitch. That was the whole idea. I was playing dress up, which is what the Freemasons like to do. They like role play, and it's something that I have done ever since I was a child. I've always liked dressing up. In fact, actually, there's a picture of my father on Facebook, and he's dressed as, I don't know who this is, but Lawrence of Arabia, and that's exactly how Adamant dressed, because Adamant liked Clint Eastwood, and so did my father, interestingly. But me, my mother, particularly me, my mother and my middle sister, we like dressing up. Always had a dressing up box with wigs and stuff, and I like dressing up as an old lady and getting my grandmother's walking sticks and pretending to be an old lady knocking on the door. Good fun that was. But, and this is the big BUT, It's role play as part of disassociation. So, and when you come back to reality, as a lot of the people at the Adamant gigs would say, back to reality tomorrow. And that for me was the scary part. I don't want to go back. I want to stay in playland, in imaginary world. You know, Puss in Boots, want to play, and Prince Charming. I want to stay in that childlike mindset. And as a child, I liked drawing a prince and a princess, and there'd always be the happily ever after, because I was looking for my happily ever after. Is this happily ever after at the age of 40, being dragged around and beaten by the police when you found out that your father's been dead for over a year? I don't think so somehow. But I'm delusional, aren't I, Nikki? Yeah. Yeah, you carry on thinking that then. Okay. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? Those of us who are truly awake, because it doesn't matter whether I've got sock puppet accounts watching me or real viewers. Even if you got paid to troll me, whatever you're getting paid to do, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you work for, what agency. It doesn't matter if you work for MI5 or the CIA. There are people coming out of that who are whistleblowers, but some of them are brainwashed. I mean, how do you make a mind control slave? How do you make a mind controlled assassin? The guy who assassinated, what's his name, from the Beatles, the guy who assassinated him was an MK Ultra slave. And we all know about the Beatles because Mark Devlin talks about it. And they came out of Tavistock, which is where you guys who are still asleep. So anyway, but it's really interesting to go through all these recordings. So I've been on here for over 40 minutes. I wanted this to be 10 minutes long. I can't stay away from. I think I'm trying to waken other people up. That's why I can't stop talking about all this crazy stuff that's real. As John Patterson said, truth is stranger than fiction. And you know, if I was to make a Jack and Ori story of how I met John Patterson, no one would believe it. Well, there's one elderly man I worked with. Sadly, I see him now with mouth masks on, and he looks like he's been taken by the state. But years ago, I used to bump into him and have a cup of tea and I'm not the Freemason who wanted his wicked way with me. There's another old man I used to work with who I still see him in the town. He was disgusted that my sisters weren't helping me, and he said to me, "Believe me, I can believe what you're saying." And I think his parents got him heavily into the Catholic Church. Some people, everyone's, as Darren said, everyone's in a different place. Everyone. Dr. Dixon. There you go, yeah. So I'm just looking at these recordings, though. Dr. Dixon, referral to Community Connectors, May 2022. And then later this other doctor that I can't mention because I'm reporting him to the General Medical Council. But this is just all part of the insanity. So it's all part of the insanity. It really is. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap up this. it's very important to tell it how it is, whether, and those of us who will be saved in these last days expect to be mocked, persecuted, and to have every evil done to you. But rest assured, so long as you confess all your sins to Yeshua, HaMashiach, Jesus Christ, repent of your sins, give your life to him, tomorrow is not guaranteed. Time is very short. But yeah, no, I just wanted to end this live stream right now by saying that basically looking at all these recordings and stuff is a reminder to me that I've worked so hard just to try and get basic help, which ain't gonna happen. But something's got to give, and it's only by the power of the mighty Yah, because thousands of people give up in my position. Thousands of people didn't make it, and I had PCSOs say to me in 2019, they said most people would have given up a long time ago, Bryony, and we'd be more angry than you. That was 4 years ago now. So years before that, people would have given up. And that was a few years ago that was said to me. So it's good to look back at all these recordings and just to get that reminder. Anyway, I just want to finish by saying I got a notification saying that someone whose name I won't mention has reported that those vile videos, that account, James Worley, again. I didn't read all of the notification, but I just wanted to say thank you to Anonymous, and thank you for doing that for me. I haven't had a look, but it's 5 a.m. and I'm a walking... I'm keeping myself clean from all the poisons and toxins of this evil world, and I'm not sleeping and functioning, which is why I'm awake in the early hours. I'm just literally I'm still getting the odd anxiety attack, but I'm doing bloody well. I know I shouldn't swear, but if that can be my only vice or one of my sins, then I'm still a sinner, aren't I? I'm not perfect. So, being honest, just trying to get a tiny bit of support, a tiny bit of support, tiny bit. Even though I need a lot of support, I need a lot. And I would even pay for it. I would have paid for it just to get me out of this overwhelming chaos, which got more chaotic along with my mental health. But these evil powers that be want it like that. It's designed like that. And that's where I need your prayers and your encouragement. And we should all help each other. We should all be speaking out. We shouldn't be criticizing each other. Oh, you should pull yourself together. Oh, that is just disgusting. I'm the same person I was when I was a child. I've never criticized anyone. I've never told anyone, you need to pull your socks up. That's why Darren and I are so alike, and why it hurts so much. Because if Darren had been someone else abusing me, then I would have been like, oh, what a loser, because there are a lot of men out there who are like that. But Darren did not present himself like that. We're very alike. We're very alike. In fact, before I stopped liking PC Mark Vittler, he was spot on. He said at the start of my relationship with him, he said, when things are good, they're good. When they're bad, they're bad. So this is what I'm trying to say. But if no one's stepping in to help you out of the chaos and they're adding to it, so I'm very confused because abuse is abuse, and his friend Eben has abused me. So do I take legal action against her? What do I do? What do I do? All I'm doing right now is I'm lying down, I'm scared, trying to sleep, trying to pray, trying to make sense of it all. And you just, all these attacks. But anyway, thank you to Mr. and or Mrs. Anonymous for reporting that account. Very much appreciated, because people just say they'll do something and then they don't do anything. People just don't want to do anything anymore. They don't want to pull their fingers out. They don't care about their fellow brethren or brothers or sisters. You know, even in the family, the almighty family. So anyway, I will bid you, anyone watching, pray to Yahweh, give your life to Yeshua, Jesus, get yourself saved, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. Pray that your sins are forgiven. Time is very short. And shalom.